But yeah, the Jason Tatum conversation, I'm very curious, Tom. Is he going through, I won't say identity crisis, but it doesn't feel like he has this go-to move that will get him to the line, that can help him sort of work through the bad moments. I talked about it with Gary Washburn. Like, he's only had 2 games up until last night where he shot over 50% from the field, in the playoffs in 2 30-point games. And those were not the same 2 games. Like, it was more lower volume. Is there a lack of maybe more length and athleticism for him because he's 6'10", but he's not a blow-by-you type? Is there something that he's missing in these clutch moments that he just can't get to?
I wonder if it's just the miles of the last 6 years. This dude has gone to the finals or conference finals every single year, where it's just like, man, he's playing like 80 to 100 games every year when most guys are playing 60 to 70. And so you wonder if just the legs, if he has the legs to get by guys or to have the confidence to stop and go the D cells and get you off balance, to get you off your feet. Because look, we're hitting on Jason Tatum right now in a game in which he had 36, 12, and 4, right? We're pointing out that he has another level, right? We know he has another level. This is almost like it's a backhanded compliment that we want more out of Jason Tatum. And it's true. Like, when you talk about the 2004 Detroit Pistons, any of those guys deserve to be MVP of the season on that team?
No.
It's okay. It's okay if Jason Tatum is not an MVP, the best player in the NBA.
Right.
If the Celtics are going to win it, it's probably going to mean that he can be the Rip or the Chauncey, where he's, an amazing offensive player. Good. He was very good on defense in this game, by the way, in game 1.
Yes.
He doesn't have to be Jokic, Luka, LeBron, Steph to be considered an all-time great. So I don't know how you feel about the comp of the Celtics with their starting 5 and how good they all are, two-way players. And Jason Tatum, we want him to be the MVP of the league. We feel like he can get there. But I also feel like, you know what? If they're just going to be an amazing starting 5 unit, play just nails on both ends of the floor, do we care? Should we care that Jason Tatum is not that alpha top 10 all-time guy?
I feel like because of the pedigree. Because came out of Duke and was clearly the number 1 player going into that draft. Like, no disrespect to Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz, right? You know what I mean? Like, that just wasn't going to be the case. Like Jason Tatum was the guy. And you don't lose that. The Mamba mentality, all the stuff, the relationship with Kobe, like the mythology of Jason Tatum has probably exceeded what he's actually done. Like, now, granted, he gave you a 50 ball in the game 7 against the Philadelphia 76ers last year. That's also the Philadelphia 76ers, a team that cannot get to the conference final. So you knew that wasn't going to happen. I'm not saying you take anything away from that, right? You can't. Like, that's in the history books. Nobody does that. Nobody does a 50-point game 7. And he's had big moments. He's also had the moments where you're looking around and you're like, this is not it. You know what I mean? Like, whether it's the bad shot. Like, here's the one play I will tell you that made me think, because I'm on the plane to Minneapolis. I'm in Minneapolis for game 1 of the Western Conference Finals tonight. And it was Aaron Nesmith. He gambled on Jason Tatum and left him wide open for a straightaway 3. And my first thought was, he ain't making that. You know what I mean? Like, I should not feel that way about a top 5, top 10 player. If that's Luka Doncic, I'm saying night-night. If that's Jokic or Ant-Man or any of these other guys, I'm saying you've made a colossal mistake. Because it was Jason Tatum at that point in the game, I was like, he ain't making that. And I'm not saying he's Karl Malone. I'm not saying he's a big game player who can't be trusted. He's a big name player for 46 minutes that can't be trusted in the last 2. I'm not saying about him at all. But I am simply saying when he doesn't have it going, it's very hard for him to pull the nose up. He pulled the nose up last night, right? He did pull the nose up late in the game because Jaylen Brown gave him a new lease on life. But if you're asking me why I don't trust him in a clutch situation or in a championship situation, these are the reasons why. Like, if everything has to go perfect for you to redeem yourself, man, that's a tough one for me. And I'm trying to think of the comp of the 2004 Detroit Pistons. That's an interesting one, Tom. And I had a thought and I lost it, but that's an interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that 2004 Pistons team, you know, they were a collective unit in a sense that they were very well coached. They knew their strengths and weaknesses. I feel like I have a lot more confidence. Maybe this is just hindsight 2020. We already know that they won the championship, so we had, we're imbuing some sort of like
you're starting from the end and working your way to the beginning.
Do I feel that confident in this Boston Celtics team that they are gonna be the smarter team, the more efficient team, the better execution team down the stretch? I don't. And part of that is Jayson Tatum. He had 51 points in a game in the postseason last year against Philly to close him out. He also had 14 against the Miami Heat in the game 7 to end.
Now he hurt his ankle in that game. He hurt his ankle in the first minute of that game.
Sure. I give you that, but he also had 14 in game 3. So like there are high moments for Jayson Tatum and there are lows. And every time he has a low, you just kind of feel like, man, I wish he was a little bit more consistent. Now, the thing about Jayson Tatum is, like you said, if you're going to have a top 5 scorer in the league, you got to be a little bit more consistent at just getting to the line and being able to get those points and steadying your offense. It doesn't feel like he has that. But there are highs with Jayson Tatum, no doubt. But there are also some lows that make you feel like, man, is a 0 for 6 stretch over a 13-minute span in the fourth quarter and overtime, is that all that surprising? And as you're saying it, when he takes that open 3 and it's not going in, you don't feel that great. It is those lows with Jayson Tatum where you're like, man, I just don't know if he's on that same level as the KDs, the LeBrons, that Jokic, that you just feel like they're going to make the right play and execute down the stretch. And I will also say this, because of those miles on his tires, the gimpy ankle or the foot problems, like those things are going to creep up as we get further into the postseason. It's just a fact of life is that you are maybe 90% at the start of the postseason. And you listen to KG or anybody, by the end of that, conference finals, you are broken. Yep. You are just trying to keep it together for the finals. So yes, he was hurt in that game 7 last year, but I can't say that he's going to not have those excuses or be able to have that out going forward down the stretch.